This is the pattern. Copy the size you're interested in. Here you can see the sleeve, the hood and the cuff pieces. And this is the front and back piece. And as you can see, there are one piece that you should copy so it will be a piece by itself. I'm going to use different scraps of fabrics for this project. When you do that, it's important that you check that all of the fabrics can be washed in the same temperature and that it's similar in color so it doesn't stain the other fabrics. This is a very stretchy tricot cotton fabric which I'm going to use for the cuffs. And as you can see, it will stretch in the opposite way of the grain line. If you can see the selvage of the fabric, then you know that the grain line is in the same way and that it will be stretchy in the opposite way. This is a velour fabric which has a plush surface, and then it's important to check and see if it changes color if you turn it in a different way. This is the velour fabric. I have folded a piece so it has a fold and it is in the grain line. And I've checked out so the plush is facing upwards because I would like it that way. And I have the back piece towards the fold and then I add 1 centimeter in seam allowance. This is the front piece and I have it lined up in the same way as the back piece, but I'm going to add 1 centimeter in seam allowance all the way around. These pieces are laid out in the grain line and I'm going to add 1 centimeter all the way around. This piece has a pattern on it, so it's important to check out that the pattern will be facing the right way. For example, in this case, there are some goblins, so I want the feet to be downwards. This will be the cuff and I have the pattern on the fold and I have to make the sleeve cuff twice. Now you have all the pattern pieces. You make a small notch on the fold that is on the waist and the sleeve in the back. And you should also make a notch where you have center front on the hood and of course on the sleeve. Lay the back and front pieces right sides together, shoulder to shoulder, pin them and sew with a stretchy seam and 1 centimeter in seam allowance. At the bottom of the sleeve you also need to make a notch to fit the cuffs. I have folded the cuff so it's double, and now I'm going to line up the notches and the sides. When I sew I need to stretch the cuff, and I will sew with a stretchy seam. When you're in your machine it's good to have the piece which is longer towards the feeders, then they will help you to gather the fabric up. Trim away any excess fabric outside of the seam. Do not cut in the seam. Now you see the armhole, and you take one of the sleeves and you match up the notch towards the shoulder seam. Pin it, and then you pin edge to edge, corner to corner, and you sew the sleeve with a stretchy seam. Lay the sleeve and the sides, right sides together, and then you pin the sleeve and the side and sew it all at once. It's important that you match up all the seams. Now I'm going to sew one of the sides of the waist cuff. So I line up the notches in the back and the front towards the front, and then I stretch the cuff and I pin, so I will have the extra fabric evenly. Take these small lining pieces and you figure out how they are going to be facing right sides together with the front, and then you are going to sew it towards the cuff at the bottom. Lay the zipper right side together with your jacket, and then you line up the cuff and the seam towards the seam, right sides together with the zipper in between. When you get towards the top, you can pull out this piece of the zipper so it will be a little bit nicer towards the neck. I have this presser foot, which is good to use when you're going to sew a zipper. And since I'm going to have my zipper on the left, I put this presser foot to the right. Sew with a straight stitch and sew close to the zipper but not too close. When you get towards this piece where you pull the zipper, you can raise the presser foot so you can move it away and continue on sewing. Fold the jacket right sides together so you get the zipper right sides towards the other side. And then you do it in the same way here. You should line up the seams and then you should get the zipper in between. Now it's time to sew the cuff piece one more time, and I sew in between the linings. Lay the hood right sides together and sew this piece which is curved, it's the back. This is the front where the face is going to come out, and this side should have a hem. So you fold 2 centimeters towards the wrong side, pin and press. Sew a nice stretchy seam to hold this in place. Pin the hood right sides together in the neckline, start at the back, lining up the notch and the seam. And then you continue on towards the front. The lining piece should be around the hood, so the hood is in between those fabrics. Sew the neckline with a stretchy seam. This short piece of the lining you can attach towards the shoulder. In the front and around the neckline, I'm going to sew a top stitch to hold the fabric away from the zipper. So I pin and look to see that the fabric lays nicely, and then I'm going to sew with a straight stitch. Once you have finished that, your hoodie is finished. If you need this pattern and more, you can visit my Patreon, Sew for Kids.